Hey guys, Pragmatic Prepper here. I know I've had quite a lull between my last video and this one. I originally didn't want to make this video. It's going to be about coronavirus. And the reason I didn't want to make the video is because we've seen a lot of things like this in the past of, different things going around. We had, the swine flu, the West Nile virus, SARS, MERS, ton of different things. And I was going to kind of just let it run its course and not really address it because I've seen so much panic from people, and also a lot of clickbait, what I thought to be clickbait, and what a lot of what I still think is clickbait from a lot of YouTube creators. My cat's getting away. What are you doing, buddy? I've also been doing a lot of work around my place, and been training a lot, so I haven't had a whole lot of time to work on the channel. So this is just more of a side thing for me. I'm going to try to pick it up as best I can in the future, but we'll see where that goes with how things are now. Okay, so I'm going to put it out there. I don't think the coronavirus itself is a huge issue. It doesn't really concern me from a health standpoint for myself. I obviously can't speak for everyone. The people that need to be concerned the most, from what I can tell, are, the general population of people that are usually more susceptible to these types of illnesses. The elderly, the very young, the immunocompromised, people with underlying health conditions, especially related to the heart and lungs. But there are some interesting facts coming out of China as far as, because that's where the biggest sample size is from. And the mortality rate among men, I think above the age of 50, was about 8%, and for women was only 2%. And the biggest difference between men and women in those age ranges is that most men, I shouldn't say most, but a very high percentage of men in China in that age range smoke, and women in that age range tend not to. And as it applies to Americans, obesity is very similar now to smoking in terms of adverse health effects. And there's also tons of Americans that smoke as well. So I think that's something that needs to be kept in mind. Generally, the better health you're in, the better ability you're going to have to be able to fight something like this off. So as I'm saying, I'm not so much worried about the virus itself. I'm worried about people's reactions to it. So when we talk about some of the things that have come through, that have, scared, people in the past, it was stuff that had just very small numbers of cases. When we're talking about SARS, MERS, H1N1, this goes all the way back to even mad cow disease. I remember from when I was younger, all these things. But when you look at those instances, the numbers were much lower. The numbers of cases were much lower. And you sort of saw a trend, though, increasing in the number of cases as these sort of quote-unquote pandemics. I'm not sure if they were even called pandemics at that point with those situations. As they sort of spread it, they tended to be more isolated. But as our world has become more globalized by the day, the chances of things spreading faster and easier is just increasing exponentially. And so that's what I want to talk about. That's why I want to talk about the reaction more than the virus itself. Sure, we all need to take precautions and whatnot like we normally would, but that just goes with any other sort of just dealing with the flu season or anything like that. So let's talk about the reaction. There's a couple things I noticed that are very different between this and things in the past. I went out into town, if you will, to take a look at people watch, see what was going on, see if people were panicking, what they were doing. And I had never before seen entire aisles of bleach, hand sanitizer, and toilet paper empty, completely empty. Not only were they empty, but they also had signs saying, to the effect of, we apologize for lack of supply, we're working with distributors, yada, 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 yada. I'd never seen that before. Because in my experience in the past, most people did what, I sort of did in the past and just said, I'm not really worried about it. These things blow over. And also for myself, I'm pretty well prepared. I'm not perfect by any means, so there's some things I was looking at stock up on or just top off on, and just I wanted to see what people's reactions were going to be. So in a matter of about a week, it went from things were kind of being sold at a faster rate to rationing by stores to just empty. Toilet paper you literally can't find anywhere around here. Hand sanitizer, same thing. Bleach, same thing. Certain things like aspirin, other types of painkillers, harder to find. I mean, the stuff's there, just not as readily available as you would assume you would find. Even in this, I went to big stores, I went to grocery stores, I went to Walmart, I went to pharmacies, convenience stores, just to see where things were at supply wise, and pretty much all that stuff was out. Food, however, still readily available, and water as well. It's interesting to me that people will buy hand sanitizer and bleach, but they don't buy clean water. I think that's a disconnect of sort of logic. I think people think, okay, hand sanitizer is one of these things that I can just use for everything, when really you can't. But they don't think about water. I mean, I've even talked to people I know personally. I said, hey, do you have this? Do you have that? And they said, a lot of them aren't even concerned at all, but some of them are like, oh yeah, I stocked up on, I got some hand sanitizer and some bleach and whatever and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, do you have any water? And they're like, what do you mean? It comes out of the faucet. Like, they're just sort of oblivious to the idea that there's maybe some just like magic water fairy that comes and just puts it in their house or something. I don't know. So from that point, the reaction of people is a little bit stronger than I've seen in the past. And then also the biggest thing to me is the reaction from business. And when I talk about business, I'm talking about billions and billions, multi-billion-dollar businesses. Earlier in the week, I was thinking that some sporting events were going to get shut down, and then today I got an alert on my phone saying that from ESPN saying that March Madness tournaments were going to go on, but with no spectators. I've never seen anything like that before, and that got me thinking. I said, I remember texting some people and saying, I think that the NBA is probably going to follow and do the same thing. A couple hours later, notice comes out saying NBA suspended its season. That's a big deal, guys. I mean, that's a huge deal. When you see big money industries like that choosing to suspend operations and lose literally billions of dollars, that's a big thing. It makes me think that maybe there's some people that know a little bit more than the average person does, or what the media does, or media tells us. And it's definitely disconcerting. It could be an image thing, it could be a PR thing, it could be protecting the players, because those are also valuable commodities to the league. Without the players, you don't have the leagues that you do. But I'm expecting this to continue. I'm expecting this to continue with other sports, with hockey, with probably the XFL or any other sports that are going on. I'm expecting this to just sort of follow along with that trend. Now, the other issue with that kind of stuff is that sort of avenue that people have is one of those things. People love their sports. It's a community activity. They love their teams. They love going to see their teams. And having something like that shut down, I think will have a unique psychological impact on people. Apart from just the usual, oh, I'm bummed I can't see my team, but that's sort of a way that a lot of people get their stress out. I've noticed people have been, that's my next point, people have been a lot more stressed. Even just driving around, seeing people in the retail sector in general. I saw some employees at the store were starting to unravel a little bit. I think they're probably working longer shifts, and maybe people aren't coming in, or maybe people quit. So that's been interesting to me. But there's still a large population of people that are just completely disinterested in preparedness, which I think is foolish. But that population seems to be just shrinking. But as I stated earlier, some of the things that people are stocking up on are not going to serve them in the long run. And I've talked to people that are from many different backgrounds as far as finances and types of careers go, and it just seems to be across the gamut. Actually, the interesting thing to me is that the people that I've talked to that come from money and that have a lot of money, or made their own money and have a lot of money, seem to be completely unconcerned with everything. I think they have a sense of security in cash, or what they see, on the numbers on the screen on their bank account. And they seem to think that, I guess, they're immune to things like this. It seems to me that the most of the preppers that I know, or people that at least are in a mindset of preparing themselves for even just small events, they tend to be the people that are either in the middle class or below, whereas other people who maybe have had it too easy or have made their lives too easy just seem distant from, I guess, what potential suffering could be like. I know I'm kind of just spitballing here, but I just wanted to sit down and just sort of put my thoughts out on this. I didn't script it, didn't think about it ahead of time, really. I just, like I said, I wasn't planning on doing a video about this, but I figure I think I should. So I don't want to be an alarmist about this. Like I said, I don't think the virus itself is a huge concern to the general healthy population, but once those supply chains start slowing down, that's when we're really running into issues. And if you're watching this, you probably already have stuff set aside, or you probably have, an idea to do that. Now is the time. I think the food and water stuff, which seems to be readily available, is going to start dwindling rather quickly. And I think that should be the stuff that you guys really sort of stock up on. And it's water is just ridiculously inexpensive in the grand scheme of things versus other things that people buy or spend their money on. And food also in general, that the prices on that stuff is going to start going through the roof. So if you haven't done that already, I encourage you guys to really start working on that. I was watching a video earlier. Canadian Prepper had a video out, and he was talking about the same types of things. And he said something about, thinking about maxing out your credit cards to put supplies away. I think if you haven't put supplies away and you really need to get some preps together, which means you don't have any, which in my mind means you need them, I think I would definitely think about doing whatever I had to do financially to keep me and my family safe. Because a lot of you out there probably have family also that you have to worry about, friends, significant others. And this is something that seems to be also another weird blank sort of instance of cognitive dissonance. I was talking to a close family member, and I said, I've been telling him for a few weeks, I said, You should want to probably stock up on some of these things. And he's just, oh, this is crazy. It's just political. It's this, that, whatever. And I told him, I said, okay, even if you think it's political, which maybe it is, even if you think it's, just a blown out of proportion virus, which maybe I agree it probably is, that doesn't mean that the reactions people have to it are not real. That doesn't mean if the store sells out that you can just somehow magically create water and food out of nowhere. If it's not there, you can't buy it. If people are reacting in a panicked mode and the stores don't have the things for you to buy, it's the same. It's the same end result. But he just seems to be oblivious. And I say, you got 3 kids. What are you doing? And he joked with me about it, and he's joking about it. And so I can't say I didn't warn people. I've been talking to people for a while now. I've always thought that a pandemic was the worst case scenario and also the most likely scenario, as sort of what is an existential threat to not only me personally or the United States, but the world as a whole. And I don't think this is going to be one of those things that blows over like a lot of those other things where a couple scattered outbreaks and that was it. I think this is one of those things going to maybe be 3-6 months, even longer than that. I think it might be something that pops back up again in the fall. I think the only thing that really we do have going for us, at least in this part of the world, is the climate. We're coming out of winter into spring. I think if this thing hit in the beginning of winter or fall, I think it would be a lot worse. You'd have people that are just naturally susceptible to getting sick at that time of year. You have the flu season overlapping, cold season overlapping. Your immune system is running a little bit ragged, dealing with the weather conditions if you live in a colder environment like I do. So I think that we have that going for us. The other thing is people forget that the United States is the largest grain and meat producing country in the world. So we have that going for us. It's not all bleak. But as far as the other health stuff goes, the vast majority of the raw materials used to make pharmaceuticals in this country come from China and Europe. China has been shut down for a while, and now President Trump just announced that he's shutting down travel and shipments from Europe. So that supply of medicines, especially people that need those medicines, is going to be cut off. And we're talking about diabetes medication, which people literally can't live without. Liver medication, I've heard it mentioned. People on psychiatric medications, simple things, antidepressants, anti-anxiety medications, stuff like that. Who knows? I don't know what the supply chain looks like on any of that stuff. And if you do have the opportunity to stock up on that stuff, or say, hey doc, can you give me a 3-month script or a 6-month script and buy that ahead of time, I think that would be very prudent. Otherwise, we're looking at some potential problems. I think the effects on the economy and the effects on people's health, apart from the virus itself, are going to be maybe even worse than the effects of the virus. Seeing people dealing with medication shortages that could be life-threatening. Our system, most people don't know this, that our healthcare system is sort of built and scheduled upon sort of expected waves in needs and services. Like Friday night, for example, and Saturday night are really busy days for the ER, so they have more nurses and doctors on staff. Flu season tends to be predictable, give or take, certain percentage points. So that's predictable. But something like this, our medical systems are already at max capacity. And something like this stresses the system beyond what it can handle. Same thing when it comes to the food delivery systems or any other supply systems, gas, just any other commodities that the economy runs on. If you think about a grocery store, you walk into a grocery store, you say, wow, there's a lot of stuff in there. It seems like it's just overflowing. And it seems like it's full, but this stuff is run on a 24-hour cycle, run by the grid, okay? And if those trucks stop moving, those shelves will be empty within a day or two. And when people say we're, 3 meals, 6 meals, nine meals from anarchy, they're not kidding. And that stuff's really serious to think about. And like I said, I'm not trying to be alarmist here. I'm saying if you don't have your stuff It's hard. It's getting really hard to get that stuff, especially depending on where you are. If you're in a big metro area, you're looking for trouble if you don't stock up, and you're probably already in trouble if you haven't. And also the prices on stuff is going to go through the roof. Supply and demand does not care about health concerns. It doesn't care about people's issues or whatever. People are going to make money, and that's just how things are. And if that bothers you, that's just how it is. I've seen people jacking up the price on water and hand sanitizer and toilet paper and this, that, whatever. It's to be expected. If you have a commodity that is valuable, people are going to take advantage of the fact that there's a high demand and a low supply. So I want to hear your thoughts, guys. I plan on doing a follow-up to this. And I hope everyone out there is making the strides and provisions that they need to, and probably maybe thinking a little bit more seriously about this kind of stuff. And I hope that you all stay well. I will see you soon. Pragmatic Prepper out.